Yeah, I see Brad Paisley up on the wall there behind you there, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
They
Toby
went
Keith
eight
is
they
awesome.
went 18 innings the other night. Every time Brad Paisley's around, there's an extra long baseball game. Should we do an 18-hour podcast here, do you think, for a little bit?
Well, he's behind me. I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I think we'll be doing this, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Is there 18 hours worth? If Brad Paisley's here, we're in.
Yeah, if Brad's there, yes, of course. It's Cat Country
Yeah.
96 Birds Recap. It's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage Company. You can find them at bankobeverage.com. It feels like it's been forever since the Eagles played a football game, buddy, but they are back at it Monday night, and a big one. You know, it's interesting. We talked when we were getting ready for the bye week about Carolina. Like, are the Packers going to look past Carolina? They just came off that ugly loss against
Yep.
Buffalo. Were they going to look past Carolina? And then, spaghetti-o, those Carolina Panthers come in and get a win. And what a bye week for the Birds, right? To just sit at home and not have anything to do. Everything kind of fell in their favor with the NFC and the other teams involved there a little bit.
They play really well when they're off, and I love that about this team. They play very well when they're not playing. And it is. We've been waiting forever. We talked about this last week, but I didn't realize this. We're going to wait even longer again. Not even longer, but they don't play until Sunday night. So they
Yeah.
have Monday night, no Sunday afternoon game, no Sunday mid game, but another Sunday night game. But I'm looking forward to them coming back. And you couldn't have asked for a better bye week. Usually, you look at these bye weeks. Washington's going to win one, Dallas will win one. They'll tighten the gap. The Eagles have 6 wins. By the time one of them will have 4. I don't know if Washington has a bye week this week or not. But I was thinking, I know Dallas does, but I was thinking, oh, maybe Washington makes it even tighter. But the fact that the Eagles have a 3-game lead in the NFC East right now is I wasn't expecting this. And
Yeah.
it's all during the bye week, getting help from all over. The only thing I did want, I think, I would be okay if the Packers won last week at home. I'd be a little bit more confident going into Monday night, knowing the fact that the Packers actually have to lose 2 home games. I don't know if that's doable for the Green Bay
Yeah,
Packers.
you and I kind of alluded to that. That you almost, not that you wanted the Packers for obvious reasons. The
Right,
standings are the standings. You don't want the Packers to win.
right.
However,
Yeah.
you almost feel like they're really going to try to sharpen themselves up a little bit to get ready for this game against
Yeah.
Philadelphia and tighten up those things that they missed on against Carolina. But nonetheless, there's been so much that's happened with this team, and they haven't even played. The trade deadline comes. Jalen Phillips is added to another Jalen. Jalen Phillips is added to the roster. Michael Carter added to the roster. There's just been Jair Alexander added to the roster.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. So I'm curious from your perspective, just the thoughts on the additions. Does anybody in particular excite you there? And what kind of impact do you think they could have?
Michael Carter is the most. If you remember last week, I told you I didn't think Howie was going to do much. I will pick up another, a nice young cornerback over here to fit in with the defensive unit. He did a lot, but I think Michael Carter's got to be the biggest one. He's really, really. Alexander is not a bad cornerback. Don't get me wrong, but I think Carter is a big one. He was happy to leave New York. I don't know if you saw any of his. Uh, yeah, he was a
I
little.
think everybody was happy to leave New
Yeah,
York. I think the people who didn't leave New York are
yeah.
jealous of the people who left New York so
Yeah,
far.
I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think
Yeah.
Carter's a big one. The funny thing about this whole, picking up 4 guys during the trade deadline is Brandon Graham is like it's like it didn't happen, it seems like, because, yeah, he's going to be big for the team, of course, but it seems like we went from Brandon Graham, which was a nice little, locker room, maybe signing. He's not going to play even half the downs. He became, I don't want to say the odd man out, but we were so excited about Brandon Graham, which is great. We just got more excited about these
Yeah.
other guys the Eagles got. And I just think, heading, everybody's healthy. The players that were banged up, not the guys that were initially on IR, but
Mhm.
everybody's healthy coming back against Green Bay. You have all this time off. You have to make a run for the deep end now, and I think they're set with these moves. I think they did just get this much better.
It's interesting. The versatility that I think that with Jair Alexander, I think they took we'll throw it at the wall and see if it sticks kind of
Yeah,
a
I
scenario.
agree.
Can we bring
Sure.
him in? He doesn't need to be Pro Bowl Green Bay Packer
Mhm.
Jair Alexander, but can he be better than Dory Jackson? Can he be better than Keely Ringo?
Not
I
Ringo.
think if you were to get that from him, then you're looking at it that way. The interesting ones are really Michael Carter and Jalen Phillips to me because of their versatility. Michael Carter, his ability to is a great nickel corner. You could argue right up there with Cooper DeJean and his ability to play the nickel spot, but also has a history playing safety. And with kind of the Drew Makuba has had some great plays. Drew Makuba has had some not so great plays.
Rookie.
And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering if maybe this is a move by them that says if what we're ultimately trying to do is put all of our best players on the field in different packages depending on what an offense presents to us, perhaps that was a part of that equation as well. Whether you think you want to kick Cooper DeJean out to the second corner spot more often, whether you think whatever that is, he provides versatility. Jalen Phillips also, you mentioned that defensive line. You add BG, you get Nolan Smith back, you add
That's right.
Jalen into that. Who has had Jalen has had, but for an edge, we don't really say defensive end anymore. For an edge player, has done a lot of what Brandon Graham had a lot of success with in getting inside and getting down as a tackle. So now your ability to kind of rotate not only your defensive end, your edges, and your interior defensive linemen, I think is great because it's funny if you look at a lot of the highlights of Jalen Phillips, especially in the last season or so, he's inside against a guard. He's inside
Yeah.
against a guard and a center, and he's getting to the quarterback consistently. I'm sure Vic was a big
Oh
part
yeah.
in that process and getting in Howie Roseman's ear and being like, listen, if this guy's available, I think he can make a difference. Health, Achilles, ACL, two big time injuries. But when he's been healthy, he's been a guy that makes an impact. So it's the versatility from some of
Yeah.
those guys that I think is really great.
And they'll all be ready to go on game day, right? They're all, hopefully they know the playbook. Well, I don't want to say they know right now at this minute, but they're learning the playbook. I believe they're all ready to go and active on.
Yeah, well, for jail, I mean, the history with Vic Fangio is already
Yeah,
there, so there's not. I think what gets lost in, and this was a great trade deadline for the NFL. It was a lot of fun.
it
Um,
was.
I think what gets lost in it is, you want to see quarterbacks, you want to see some of these different players. There has to be a history. You're learning a new language. You're going into,
Yeah,
if you're a quarterback who gets traded, you're going into a team and a system that maybe you have no, if it wasn't, you kind of go by that Andy Reid tree or that Bill Belichick tree, those guys that have been around the league. If you don't know that verbiage and you don't know that language, it's not so easy
yeah,
for a quarterback or even a wide receiver or somebody to come in and all of a sudden pick all that up. Where you look at a situation like this with a Jair Alexander, you can kind of get away with that we're in zone, we're in man, this is what we expected, but the verbiage isn't as important as long as you're
yeah.
communicating with your other players. Jalen Phillips comes in and he's obviously been in the Vic Fangio defense, so
Mhm.
he already knows what to expect and already knows those things. But this trade deadline was fun. The Jets, obviously, in everything must go kind of fire
Yeah,
sale.
Jets
Some
got some
big
good
time
picks.
players. Yeah,
You know,
they
yeah,
did. But their history is cashing them in. And we come back to that Myles Garrett, rumor that was out there. Maybe that's something the Eagles revisit again in the offseason. And the rumor that was out there was 3 first-round picks, which you can kind of have two schools of thought on that. One, maybe your draft board, you say that there's like 15 guys that we think are really legitimate first round pick kind of players. Okay, fine. That's fine. Then you're saying, all right, well, then picks 17 to 32, you're kind of taking a shot in the dark, maybe. Okay. Well, if you flip it around to what the Eagles have done with Quinyon Mitchell and Jahad Campbell and Nolan Smith, I think that changes the equation a little bit. If I said to you that the Eagles were going to get Myles Garrett, but hypothetically, that trade is Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Jahad Campbell, you're kind
right.
of going, well,
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
listen, I think Myles is the best. You could maybe
No.
argue the best player in football. And I think it's something that they'll get back to in the offseason. But I think Howie did a really good job at this trade deadline and addressing some needs that they had.
So at the trade deadline for the Eagles, not one offensive player. Howie went all defense on this. We knew he was going to do that too. We knew, defense. Now, does Howie admit by the deadline and getting the defensive guys? Is he admitting maybe he let a couple too many people walk this offseason? I'm not sure if he did or not, or is he saying, you know what, we're
The reality of it is, I think Zach Bond was priority one, and I
he
think
was.
that was correct. You
I do
got that
too.
correct.
Yeah,
And then beyond that, I mean, really the one that you could argue, and he's had a great season, but he got cooked by the Eagles in that game in Minnesota, was Isaiah Rodgers and the contract that he got. Maybe you could sit there and argue that perhaps, that is the one that maybe got away. But Josh Sweat got a lot of money to go to Arizona. Milton
Yeah,
Williams got a lot of money to go to New England. It's kind of hard to, yes, you have to refill the coverage you best you can, but I don't know how many more moves the Eagles could have made with their own players who left last season.
yeah. No, that okay. Looking at it that way, I see your point. Josh Sweat helped us out Monday night, by the way.
He did.
Yeah,
He
he
did. He's
really
having
did.
a fantastic
Yeah,
season in
yeah,
Arizona.
yeah.
And yeah, back in Jonathan Gannon's defense, so they have
Yep.
that familiarity with each other, which certainly helps the player going into a new environment. It's Cat Country 96 Birds
Yeah.
Recap, brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by Banko Beverage. You can visit them at bankobeverage.com. Love our guys over there at Banko Beverage, so big
Okay,
shout
good.
out
We'll
to
be
them.
able to see one. How about
Oh,
that?
there we go.
How about that?
How about the official beer of the Philadelphia Eagles right there?
Love it.
The offense had their great, best, goodest day,
I like
consistent
goodest.
day, balanced day
Yeah.
that they had against the Giants in New York a couple of weeks ago. What do you expect from the offense coming up going forward? Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago, some big time games, some big conference games coming up for this team. The Jekyll and Hyde, do you think we're going to get the better version of the Eagles, or do you think we're still going to see some inconsistencies there?
Well, it's been so long since I've seen an Eagles offense operate live. It seems forever ago. I mean, you have to think that the past couple weeks, their offense has been improving, but you have to think that it has to be getting better. All right, look at what they did without AJ Brown against the New York Giants. They had a really good game without AJ Brown. You got a healthy Brown coming back. You assume and you hope that this is going to be pretty good. We're going to light it up. The Barkley injury isn't as serious as we all thought it was. Whenever we see Barkley limp or even sneeze, we all get nervous. That isn't as serious as we thought it was. You got a healthy offense coming back. You had this bye week. You have an offensive coordinator that's been hearing it from every part of the stadium that you can imagine. You know, I think they got everything together. And this is me hoping, but this is the Eagles. And this is, they're not going to put up with, just doing it. I think they're going to get it done right. I think things are going to get straight. I think they're going to be working on maybe, some screen passes and things like this and when to call the right run play, when to not run. I think that going forward, now it'll be a little bit more difficult because you are playing, look, Detroit's beatable. All right, we saw that last week. They are a beatable team. You know, you do have to play your best against these next couple. We look at the Chicago Bears. We have them as well. Much improved team from last season. Very good team. But they're going to have to score points to beat these guys. And I think with the offense starting to develop a little bit more, biggest offensive, I think the biggest most points they've scored all year was last week. I think with that going, I think they're going to be just fine. Now you're going to see a game thrown in there where they're going to get off to the slow start, and we're all going to be, are you kidding me? And then all of a sudden Barkley's going to break one. I think we're going to be just fine. We are going to be better the second half than the first half offensively and defensively for that, but offensively, yeah.
I've seen, looking at the forecast, in the 20s, perhaps windy and snowy in Lambeau Field
They
on
can
Monday
play
night.
there. That's great.
Yeah, they have a kind of game that can travel, which is excellent. I expect them to be good. Listen, they came off that mini bye. They did some of that
Yeah,
self-evaluation. All of a sudden, we're
yeah,
under center more. We're an
yeah.
extra offensive lineman in there. We're not running these 12 and 13 personnels, with guys that we're trying to put in position to block that aren't making blocks. They did a great job against New York, just pushing them all over the field. That was excellent to see. So I anticipate seeing more of that from this team, a consistent balance on offense. And so hopefully that is what we get, because that's a big game against Green Bay. You have a win
Yes.
over LA already. You have a win over Tampa Bay already. You're 3 games up in your division. A win against Green Bay could go a long way. This is a pretty big game, and I'm sure that every other Eagles fan is like us right now, like, just kick the dang
Oh
thing
my
off
gosh.
already.
And you
Like
know
we're
what, Crockett? It's been a long week. if I'm telling you right now, I'm staying up for the entire game, and I'm going to watch every down for the Eagles Monday night game.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
buddy.
you know what I mean?
I'm
Yeah,
right there with you. I think every game but one is at least a 4:25 game coming up here. I think they got one more 1 o'clock game left. So
Raiders, I
uh,
believe. Yeah,
yes, we will be ready for Monday Night Football. Eagles Packers, can't wait. Big NFC game. It's the Cat Country 96 Birds recap. It's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and our friends at Banko Beverage Company. Cat Country 96. You'll hear Merrill and Mike with that call on Monday Night Football.
can't wait.
On Monday night. Sammy, it's a pleasure as always. We'll see you next week for the Cat Country 96 Birds recap. Go Birds.
Go Birds!